into my next one, which is connected. Continuing to talk about female wrestlers, this is Queen of the Ring.
Oh, honey.
I had a bad dream.
Only dreams that we make come true are real. We're gonna wish away all those bad thoughts.
1, 2, 3.
I promise you, my son, our lives together will be special.
Where's your little boy's father, anyway?
Mister, I ain't gonna marry no circus freak.
He done left me over this.
Billy Wolf! I'm really curious to see what you can do with her.
You barely know him.
He's the only man that's ever believed in my dream.
We got a job to do tonight. You go out there and you wrestle your heart out.
Which was better than I expected it was going to be.
Look, okay, Queen of the Ring, for Jordan's benefit, is about the female wrestler. Okay, correct me if I'm going to get the name wrong. Molly Burke.
Mildred Burke.
Millie Burke.
Yep.
And her relationship to her husband, Proto Vince McMahon, whose name is escaping.
And the wrestling business that she would help pioneer the women's wrestling movement.
Something Wolf is what his name is, and
yeah,
look,
I can't remember his name because he's a piece of human refuse.
But the actor who's playing him though,
does
man,
great.
Sure looks like the
Dude,
guy. Holy shit!
Right?
Wow.
That parking lot scene too, by the way, when he,
she's
right in the kisser.
So she's played by for Jordan's benefit. You know Felicity Smoke, Jordan. Felicity Smoke show.
Yes, yeah, from
Arrow?
from Archer,
Yeah.
Arrow rather. Yeah.
She is Mildred Burke, and she is really good in this.
That's her. I didn't even click that.
Right?
Wow, good for her.
I know.
Is she
jacked in this?
Is she a babe in this one as well?
Yeah, it's not
more than the real Mildred.
Yeah. But she got jacked for this. Like she is huge. Like especially if you've seen her on Arrow, she is massive.
She saw Stephen Amell and was like, "Hold my drink."
I think
hold my.
How much do you want to bet that who's also involved in a wrestling project? I bet he gave her some pointers.
Absolutely, yeah. Because this came out after Heels, right? I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
After the first season, yeah.
And so there's no way she didn't went. Yeah, I'm gonna go do my own wrestling thing. And she can. I mean, there's one moment where it's very obviously a stunt double. Where like she does a flip or something, and it's really obviously a woman twice her size, but like.
A la 1960s Star Trek, that is clearly a different person who was significantly taller.
Definitely a different person.
Batman is a separate ethnicity entirely.
So when I was watching it, so this is when they brought up the concept of a shoot match, and I went, "Holy shit, that's a thing!"
It did happen on the Carney circuit, and you have to be careful because it's hearsay. Every bit of it is hearsay, and they stood to gain from people believing these fights were real.
Interesting point.
But I'm willing to bet that they would treat it like an audition if they pin, because if they pin the girl, then the guy has to take her with him because people know that Mildred lost.
True. So sorry, for Jordan's benefit, a shoot match, Jordan, is real.
It's a real wrestling match.
It's a real wrestling match. So according to this movie, what would happen in the ring, was staged, but they would often have a shoot match behind the scenes to determine who would actually win. So they would have a real fight to determine who would actually win. But then I'm like, but then why not just have a real fight? Generally, that's where I got confused by the
because the promoters wanted to control the outcome and wager the house.
Okay, interesting.
Because if you control the outcome, you can see who's betting where, and the house can always win.
So that my question became: was there ever a point where because I'm like, okay, boxing, for example, is controlled, but like, was there ever a period in the history of professional wrestling where that's or even like Olympic style wrestling? Like, to me, wrestling breaks down into two types of wrestling: the Olympic style wrestling and then the professional style wrestling. And if you did professional style wrestling in an actual fight, you'd really hurt somebody. So like, was there ever a period where it was like real?
In in the very early Carney days, what they would do is they would do a strongman tour, and it's just what it sounds like. A manager takes his strongman around to the various carnivals, and people can pay to have a chance to fight the strongman. And if you win, you get the jackpot prize. But the strongman is actually a jacked dude who probably can fight. Then promoters realized, though, that if they put plants in the audience and put on a show, people would bet on the fights outside of getting in there, and they could win more money betting.
Yeah.
They put plants in there to bet and plants in there to fight and throw the fights. And every now and again, this would become like the surprise victory. You would occasionally have to flip so that it appeared to be legitimate
That's
every now and
sort
again.
of what this movie is about. Basically, is about the foundation of like, because it initially starts with they're at a fair, and there's a person in the crowd exactly like that calls out the fighter or whatever, that she starts off fighting men, and then they eventually introduce, and they say that women's wrestling used to be illegal, which I didn't know. That I didn't know.
It was, well, actually, no, in some states it would have been, and it was certainly unsanctioned by the NWA, which was the collection of territories at the time.
And Jim Cornette is in this movie as the head of the NWA commission, and it pulled me out immediately. I was like, whoa, okay, there's Jim Cornette. There he is. Yeah, they're basically like a secret cabal of people who there's a point where they're brought in front of the council of the NWA, and they're like, the drama of your marriage is becoming too dramatic, and we can't have this. It's very funny.
I mean, that's very much a real thing. What it was just a confederation of the territory owners.
The funniest bit though is where one of them is Vince McMahon, and he's like, my son Vince McMahon Jr. He pointed out that the promoter shouldn't get involved in the drama of the wrestling, and he's like, but he actually loved it, and it was like, oh yeah, Vince McMahon right from the get go loved involving himself.
I mean, you can't do a wrestling movie without Vince McMahon.
Right.
Tip of the hat.
Regular. But women's professional wrestling was different back then, so that led me to watching. I watched an episode of Dark Side of the Ring about Moolah, the Moolah episode, which came out after it came out that she was a pimp. It's what that
I mean, yeah, there's not really any sugarcoating about it. And Moolah was I don't know if protege is the right word, of Mildred Burke.
Yes, that's how they describe it. She went to her husband, and it was like, if you want to be in my promotion, you gotta ride the wolf, and she went, yeah, I don't want to do that, and so she created her own thing, and that episode sort of implies that the entirety of like women's, that I thought was interesting, because the Mildred Burke movie really makes it look like she was the foundation of everything that was women's wrestling, and it doesn't really mention Moolah at all.
It's the bedrock with which the foundation was laid.
Interesting, because okay, just so Jordan kind of understands, women's wrestling back then was more like men's wrestling. That's really the best way I can describe it. It was more straightforward.
Well, to be fair, they tended to look a little bit more like men.
That is absolutely true. But it wasn't what it was, and it wasn't Trish Stratus. It wasn't bra and panty matches. It was very
no.
And the famous Moolah, yeah.
Well then, what's the point in that?
But it's weird because,
well, I mean, a lot of people said that exact thing.
But also, like the Queen of the Ring movie implies that sex appeal was very much a part of it still. So like, even though the Dark Side of the Ring insisted it wasn't, but so the fabulous Moolah,
it was.
She was a woman who wouldn't stop wrestling. She wrestled until her like 80s. Her and I can't remember who
Mae
else.
Young.
Yeah, Mae Young. Yeah, they wrestled.
Mae Young eventually, yeah, she gets put through a table by Bubba Ray Dudley.
Yeah, they show the clip in that episode. It's or there was one where they show someone hitting Moolah over the head with like a 2x4 or something, and I was like, oh my god.
And Mae Young also goes on to give birth to a hand on live television.
Of course she does. But there's a moment in the episode where one of the talking heads is one of the people who used to work for Moolah, a native woman, and she describes an incident in which Moolah told, after she destroyed her ankle, Moolah told her to go see this guy, and then got mad at her when she wouldn't sleep with him. And the end of the episode is like, if you say that Moolah was a pimp, that implies that I was a prostitute. She says it all indignantly, but it's like, but you very much described earlier in the episode.
You described a very quid pro quo business
prostitution
arrangement
situation where you accused her of being a pimp. What?
I would classify that more as a sexual harassment case, but I think in the scheme of things, yeah, pimp would be.
I mean, the implication, or I guess no.
Listen, Saul Goodman would argue that Moolah had no idea
She was a madam.
The doctor
She was a madam, not a.
was a madam.
She was a madam.
That is a distinction that Saul Goodman would make in court.
Yeah, very, very decisive. She didn't say that she should have sex with him for money, but she definitely implied.
Now, if the implication was there, then my defendant did not mean it in any way, and it is not her fault that was what was read there.
Right.
I sent her for massage therapy.
Right. If she took money for whatever,
whatever may have happened there instead, that was not what was intended.
But
frankly, Your Honor, any sexual relationship was simply a thank you for a job well done. Could she walk after? Well, no.
But also, like, yeah, a lot of modern.
Oh, you mean her ankle?
Wink.
Oh, wink.
She paved the.
That was dirty.
I don't like people back then were they did what they did. Like it's like, you know, like she definitely.
It's real easy to judge here in 2025 with the internet and
right, exactly. It's
details that had we not had the internet, we would otherwise have no idea.
Right, right, and
like, it's a different world in 2026.
She pioneered a lot of shit, and she led the way for a lot. They both did, both her and but my favorite bit of that movie is the husband, the wolf guy. How he starts off being a regular dude, and then by like the end of the movie, he's like a cartoon character smoking a cigar, and it was like he basically just becomes Vince McMahon over the course of that movie.
Well, to be fair, what do you think is going to happen to a man who starts out with very little and then is constantly surrounded by women making money and not having to lift a finger on his own?
Yeah, that movie very.
I mean, that's a cartoon villain origin story if I ever heard one.
Absolutely, it's really fascinating when you read. Number one, when he met her, he was trading female wrestlers, which you definitely get in this movie. But yeah, he got rich off of her work, and that's awful. That's terrible. That's it. That's the lady wrestler. That's our brief dip history into lady wrestling, as they very specifically put it.
That is, to be fair, that is a very brief dip. It goes a lot deeper. Much like everything else, women's wrestling goes through phases.
Yeah. The interesting bit to me was the peak and valley of diva, like traditional female lady wrestling, which is completely different from diva wrestling. Which
you can partially thank Vince Russo for.
Absolutely,
so
it doesn't surprise me that he was responsible. But then
I think Vince McMahon led the charge on that only because he and Vince Russo kind of agreed that, like, oh yeah, bro, you know what would be awesome is if we had a match where the goal of it is for them to strip them down to their bra and panties.
You could picture them having wouldn't it be great if they were eventually down in their underwear on television?
And I see. They get down to their underwear. Do you think pudding would be too much?
Absolutely, no, that's good shit.
Yeah, you know at one point Vince Russo pitched mud wrestling. You know he did.
I think to be fair, I think it existed before.
Yeah,
but he pitched it on
for the WWE,
which I think they did.
I wouldn't.
They certainly did pudding wrestling.
That doesn't surprise me, but like, yeah,
doesn't surprise me at all.
Do you agree with the, because they what's his face whose name we've already said, not Vince Russo, the other guy,
Vince McMahon?
Jim Cornette kind of implies that Ronda Rousey made female wrestling respectable.
No, very much the opposite.
That's what I think. That's what I felt. She absolutely
no. He does not believe that.
Oh, see, that's how they, because he says that or he says in that
There was a time, but I'm sure his opinion has. I've heard his opinion has changed. There may have been a time, like when she first came in and she was white hot, but
Like,
then
oh,
she
add
was
an
she
air
was
of
out in public.
respectability.
Well, she was out there saying that she doesn't care about the business and that it's stupid and that it's fake and she's only there to get a paycheck. And she's saying this in interviews. And yeah, I can see Jim Cornette really turning on you for that. That is a cardinal sin to him.
See, I don't like saying this anymore.
She broke kayfabe.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I don't like saying this anymore because I respect professional wrestling too much to say this anymore. But back in the day, I used to say she got kicked in the head so hard she ran to fake fighting.
Hey, you know what though? Let's real talk here though. That relationship could actually be really good for both parties because the WWE is a hype machine, whether you like it or not. That I think. Well, actually, I think the UFC is losing money.
Ah, yeah.
But more importantly for the boys, let's say you have a fighter who just has one too many close calls in the octagon. He can still be physical, but it's no longer safe for him to be taking shots to the head like that.
Mm.
The move over to pro wrestling is
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think
it's legit.
I saw Floyd Mayweather did some professional wrestling, and I was like, hey, he's got the kind of personality I could see him in the ring. It's believable.
Well, Logan Paul didn't do it because of an injury, but
Logan Paul is I cannot speak highly enough about how much I like Logan Paul in WWE. I just can't help it. I can't help how much I like him.
and kind of the unsung hero of MMA to pro wrestling, who she's not in WWE anymore. I can't fathom why. Was Shayna Baszler. She took to that like a duck to water. She was good.
Interesting.
So I have I have a pitch for a potential wrestling league or idea here where
Bitch slap. It's been done.
No, but I like where your head's at. Where you have all the people who can no longer do like the super dangerous things anymore, and instead you put like a bubble like a inflatable helmet on them, and they have sock and bottoms like the inflatable things on their hands, and they just boop 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 boop.
This sounds like amateur boxing.
I'm sure it exists in Japan.
I'm sure it does. If you could think of it,
That show
exists in Japan.
That show exists in Japan. Except the winner also, to move on to the final round, the winner also has to catch a live fish.
I mean, that would be. Well, I was gonna say the winner has to get knocked in the groin because it's Japan.
I mean,
after catching the live fish with their sock and boppers. No one will win the championship. It is impossible.
I'd watch it.
I'd watch it for the sheer lunacy of it.
Sure. Hey there, everybody. It's Endcard Justin here. Let me know down in the comments. Would you watch Queen of the Ring? Does it interest you? Did you learn a little bit about women's wrestling? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments down below. But in the meantime, if you want to see our full professional wrestling episode with Jake from Down the Middle, you click the box on the left. Or if you just want to see a random video that YouTube thinks you're going to enjoy, click the box on the right. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. We put new videos out 7 days a week. Or you can just leave this video a like. That helps us out too. We'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day, everybody.